Yeah, for sure. I'm raised Singletary. I've been in education for about 25 years, going on my 25th year. And I've served in different roles from teacher, coach, district leader, principal. And right now I'm in the classroom working at an alternative school,
Oh,
um, working with teaching math with some kids at the high school. Definitely had to step back from some of the leadership because my family situation and making sure my wife's taken care of. But I'm so blessed to be doing the work that I'm doing. I love it every day. Um, and so yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation tonight and talk about how to support children, families, and whatever we get into. So thanks for having me.
that's good. So your role changed.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, you're back. You're a classroom teacher again.
I am. I am. Yeah.
Wow. What happened?
Well, it was a couple things. Mainly my wife is going through some medical things. Like I said, some
Yeah,
she's going battling cancer right now, and I definitely wanted to be more present at home. Some as you get into those leadership roles, there's a lot of responsibility to be present beyond the school day, right?
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so for me, it's really about how can I maximize the time that I have with my wife, but my family and making sure that I am there and can be as present as possible for her as she goes through these things. So, you know, I think we all make choices about what we what we do and why we do it. And I felt like this was the right thing for me. And it's been a blessing to be back in classroom and a blessing to be more present at home. So
That's good. That's good. How does it feel to just be back in the classroom?
it
Yeah.
yeah, it feels great. I always say I never ran from teaching. I think I'm always been a teacher from whatever I've been doing in my life. It's all about just helping people grow and develop. And in this setting, it's very rewarding to me because you're dealing with students that have had difficulties in their home school and they're in a different environment, smaller, and and you get to really know their story. You get to really learn about them. You get to share your story. And that's been the best part is building those connections with kids and really getting to understand what challenges they face and helping them navigate it as best I can while I have
Yeah.
them for the time I have them.
Is this a elementary school, middle school, high school? What is it?
It's high school.
High
It's high
school.
school. Yes, 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 yes. I've always been a high school, middle, secondary math teacher. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing.
And
Yeah.
what's the classroom size? What are you looking at? How many students in the
Oh,
whole
it is small.
Yeah, like
It
5?
is
What do you got, 5 students?
yeah, we just transitioned, like, we were on semesters 4 by 4, and so
Okay,
I just ended with 1 group, and now I have a new group, so the biggest class I have is 7,
okay.
and the smallest class I have is 2,
Yeah.
and
And
some of
just
those
w
kids don't come. So some days I have nobody in the room. And so it's quite interesting to how do we navigate time and making sure they feel safe when they come back that they're not overwhelmed with the process.
what do you do with that when the students just don't come to class? What do you guys do with that?
What do I do personally?
You
Or
just
what is
happy? What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say?
No,
I'm
no, no. For me, I think that's one of the challenges is I think you mentioned this in your current situation too. Like attendance becomes an issue, whatever's going on in the community, whatever's going on at home, it becomes an issue that students may not feel safe or they are going through some mental trauma or they just need a break from whatever's happening in life. Um, and they might not appear at school. And so I just reach out. I just reach out to them either by calling home or emailing and say, "Hey, I'm just thinking about you. I hope that whatever you're going through is okay. And I can't wait to see you again whenever you come in the classroom." And whenever they come back in the classroom, I act like they were there the day before and just say, "I'm glad you're back. Good to see you. Welcome." I try to start the class, and I told them this with this new group. I say every day, I always say, I'm blessed to be able to work with you every day. I'm always grateful that I get the opportunity to be in front of you. And I'm glad that you're here because it takes a lot of courage to be here. You don't have to come. It does take
Yeah.
courage to come to the building and sit in the classroom. And I'm grateful for that, that they come and show up.
That's good. I mean, just if I were a student, I heard that I would want to come to school. Or I would just be happy that day when I was there that my teacher actually cares that I'm there. That's good that you do that. You're making them feel welcomed and cared for and loved. I think it's important, especially working with students in that alternative setting. That's tough. They are going through all kinds of stuff, and I did mention that attendance, and we'll just jump into it. Like over here in LA, I work in the Boyle Heights, East LA area. And, you start to see the presence of ICE now. You start to see like I live in this Echo Park community right here. And so the first time I saw something was it was on so there was I was outside with my dog and a car was driving by and it was a lady and she was on a bullhorn and she was like, ICE is here in Echo Park, ICE is here in Echo Park. And she was just shouting, ICE was here in Echo Park. I was like, oh,
Mm,
that's weird. That's strange. So then, a little bit time passes and I go on social media and I see little videos of people getting taken like, "Oh, dang, that's the fruit guy right here. Oh, that's this person lives down the street. I've seen this guy before." And so that's the first time I saw like, "Oh, they're really picking people up over here. That's crazy." Now before it was like on the news, you see
yeah.
things on the news, it's really not where you are. And then I go for a jog, and then there's these posts that, like, somebody was picked up on 1/2/2026 right here, and you know, there was just these signs posted everywhere. I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." Um, and then you start to see stuff, like, in the community that I work at, the Boyle Heights, East LA area, and you see, like, just quick little raids next to elementary schools, next to some of the elementary schools that I work at. I work at 2 different elementary schools, they're right next to the elementary schools I work at, and then you see parents coming to pick up their kids, and then you got, um, parents who are afraid to come pick up their kids, so they send somebody, and they don't have the right, identification to pick up the kid, and they're not in the emergency card. And that's an issue, you
Yeah.
know? That's an issue because they can't come and pick up their kid, so they send somebody else that's not, on the emergency car, so that's an issue. And
Mm,
then, you see attendance drop a little bit, kids don't wanna come to school, they wanna enroll in homeschool now, and it breaks up that whole school community, and if a if you have a really good school community, that's a blessing, I feel. Like, you have a
mhm.
home away from home, like, you have a good administrator, good, out of the classroom staff, your playground supervisors, are all working hard, your parent rep, even your custodial staff is just knows the kids. Like, if
Right.
the custodial staff knows the kids and they're telling them "Hey, stop fighting," or "Put your trash," you know,
That's right.
they're making that connection. You're like, "Man, this is a good school community here, that they really care here." But all that doesn't matter when kids stop coming to school, like kids just stop coming to school and then you don't get that community. You're a kid at home,
Mhm.
and who knows what if you're really even learning, who knows if really doing your work,
Right.
parents got to work. Parents aren't really, parents got to work. So it's just it's a sad situation.
Mhm.
I don't know how it is where you're part of the world, but, like, over here, it's just like it's a sad situation to see, and it's nothing like what's happening over there in Minneapolis, whatever. It's nothing like that, but, it's just a sad situation. We had recently, protests, there was, like, that national walkout day or whatever it was
Mm.
recently. So where I was at, you could see them walking up and down the streets, and then in downtown LA right there, they were at the city hall and they were all there, so
Was that
but
just kids to walk out, or was it adults too?
I think it was a combination of both. It was a
Mhm.
combination 'cause I was driving home and they blocked off a whole street. You see them walking down the whole street. It was, like, right in, like, a Bohais area. There was a bunch of people just walking down the whole street, and I was like, "Oh, dang, I gotta get home." Um, but, yeah, I think it was a lot of different people, and they all show up at City Hall, and it's just this it's you know, it sends this fear. It
Mm,
seems like they wanna dismantle public education,
mhm.
break apart communities, that's separate everybody,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, this fear thing, it's just and then we're supposed to go about life like everything's okay,
Mm,
right? Like, everything's just fine, just pick up and just keep moving along and keep teaching if you're a teacher and keep having a smile on your face and, like, with my social media stuff, I feel like it's hard to do social media now.
yeah.
'Cause who cares about anything I have to say other than what's going on in the world? Like,
Mhm.
who cares about whatever, Like, man, people are getting kidnapped, people are getting
Right.
kidnapped, people are getting taken away, who cares about whatever the heck I'm saying? Like, nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, you mentioned a lot of things there, and just to kinda add on to what you're saying, it's the divide in the community is evident. Um, just and it's just a bunch of things that make people feel unsafe, whether it is physically unsafe, feeling like they're going to be taken up or moving. I mean, just picked up, or their parent might get picked up, or they might be in a
Mhm,
situation where somebody stops them and they don't know how to respond to it. The community feels that way, but also mentally unsafe to where you don't know what to say, how to say it. I mean, just thinking about the teachers in the school, like what their perspective is of things. Are they supposed to be political? It seems like I'm not supposed to talk about any of that, but the kids are dealing with it. They're dealing
mhm,
with it, and that's a
mhm.
human thing. Like being a human and having to deal with that is part of what you bring into the school building, no matter what
Yeah,
anybody says. And
yeah,
I hear you say that all the time, and it it, it is part of that safety piece. If I'm afraid, it's going to be hard for me to learn. It's going to be hard for
mhm,
me to feel comfortable in a space. That goes for kids and adults.
mhm,
Um, and so that is the challenge of the current situation. Um, at least in my mind, it is that we there's this divide in thought, and you have to pick a side and be on one side or the other. But we're supposed to also be in the same spaces and work together to get things done. But you asked how things are going on my side. I mean, there's lots of different directions I think about with this, but the main
yeah,
thing I want to say is, as you said, there, I think there, and this might go off very wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think there's just some people that want to bring people together that feel like a community is in doing things together can get more done, helping people feel included in that process and
mhm,
having a say can get way more things done. People believe that. And there's other people that just believe that no, there's the haves, the have nots. You belong, you don't.
mhm,
Just this divide. And we are all in the same spaces.
mhm,
And that can be teachers in the building, could be
mhm,
administrators in the building,
mhm,
it could be
mhm.
parents in the community, it could be kids from, the
Yeah,
messaging they're hearing. And that's what makes it feel unsafe is that it's this constant battle of ideas about how we're supposed to live and how you're supposed to treat each other that come into the building and make things hard for you to just keep going because
yeah,
you believe certain things and you're passionate about those things. And so when I see those things I don't necessarily see it as evident in the school that I'm in now, but in the district that I worked before when I was recruiting, you know, the adults would have conversations, like be afraid to go out in the building because at that time they were in that community rounding up people, fear based. A lot of students from Honduras and El Salvador and their
Mhm,
families lived in that community and didn't want to come out the house and didn't want to come to school.
mhm,
And we literally had to go to their events, their spaces, and learn kind of what their challenges were, bring authorities in and have conversations about, how to protect yourself or how to be safe in these times so that they
yeah,
feel more comfortable coming into, out in spaces. But it's it's a challenge when the noise out there is about divide and you have to have these divergent thoughts when, that's not for me, that's not what things should be about. It should be about how do we come together? How do we include different thoughts and cultures and beliefs so we can see if this experiment called America actually works, right? Like
right.
that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to see if we can continue kind of bringing people in and making this a better place for everyone.
Yeah, I
That was
mean,
a
it's
lot. I said a lot there. I
you
but
did say a lot, you did say a lot, but, the so, like, both you and I have been trained to keep student safety. I said this on a podcast where we've both been trained to keep student safety. That's probably number 1. Keep students safe, keep students safe. That's always been ingrained in us. If you're an educator, you're a teacher, you go through all the trainings about, student safety and child abuse and, you would keep everybody safe, basically. Keep everybody safe. And, and I said this in one of my little clips was, like the idea that, okay, I've been trained all this time to keep students safe, and then like here I am out there trying to keep students safe, and you get a bunch of masked people come out of cars and try to pick up kids and families, and you've been trained to keep students safe your whole life. I've been teaching since I was 22 years old. I'm 48 years old now. My instinct is to like, hey, like keep students say, hey, what are you doing? Why, and get in the way, and then by doing that, your life might be taken away from you by getting in the way and stopping from some, like and so that's a scary thought, like, wow, that could happen for not just me, for all educators, for anybody that has been trained to keep students safe. That's what you do. And then teachers have big hearts and that, they care about their kids and they're walking their group of students to the school bus or, they're walking to the exit gate or whatever. And then this happens right there. And I'm sure there's teachers that'll do the exact same thing. Like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you taking, it's
Mhm.
just a scary situation.
I'm curious about your thoughts on that because that is scary, right? It's not something that we've been trained for. It's not something that
Uh-huh.
we've even, some places don't even discuss how to deal with that. They're just like, and other places do. I do remember in our district, when I was in the one before, they talked about kind of how to handle that as an adult, right? And so, or what was allowed, what we could do. But I just wonder for you, kind of, because sometimes you're in those spaces and kids are in between, right? Coming in the building, leaving the
Mhm,
building, outside, and there's other teachers out there that have that duty, right?
mhm.
So how do you think about kind of those situations?
We just like recently we just had this I guess ICE was around our schools and somebody had sent us a message or something like that. Like, hey, ICE is running school. So we were more present. We got out of the side of the school. I was standing across the street just to take a look to see if there's any cars coming around, that
Hmm.
looked like, these dark SUVs, cars that looked unusual. So I'm across the street, the principal's out there too, and you got out of the classroom staff out there too. And the whole idea is to, if we do see something, to bring everybody inside and close the
Close
gate.
date, right?
Close the gate. Let's bring everybody inside. Let's close the gate, and that's what we're gonna do. Um, so that's how we handled it at one of the schools I worked at. Was okay. Let's keep an eye. Let's keep a close eye. But we got heads up. Like we were like, oh, they're in the community.
Hmm.
Just just keep an eye. So, what if you don't have heads up? Like, what if you
Right.
what if you're not, and you're just out there, like, nobody's really watching, it just happens really quickly.
Mhm.
And I know the whole idea is to keep everybody safe, to bring them in the building. Don't have parents lingering outside, bring them inside the building, let them stay inside, that could keep them safe. But I don't know, it's a situation where it's just ruining public education. It's hurting our attendance. It's hurting the most vulnerable population of students. The most vulnerable population of students is hurting them. It's and it's just a sad situation. And how long is this gonna be? Is this gonna how long is it gonna last? Like
Right.
how many years? Like how so it's I don't know, man. And you try to keep you try to stay upbeat, you try to have a smile, it's tough, so
No,
that's
no,
what's really
I
with it. Yeah,
yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that, I think that's the key, right? Just trying to get people in the building and, um, and make sure kids are safe while they're there. Um, but it is a lot of uncertainty, and, we in education, we have these moments of uncertainty. I mean, we had it with COVID, right? Like, don't know we're in this what do we really do? We're trying to kind of figure it out
yeah,
as we go. And that was about safety too, health and safety, and making sure kids were getting as much as they could in those moments. But this is kind of putting yourself in physical, you know, danger, and 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 we have these drills that talk about those things,
yeah.
but how you're out
How does
there.
it play out in real life? How does it play
How
out in
does it
real
play out?
life,
That's right.
basically?
Yeah.
Yeah, how does it play
Right.
out in real life?
It's kind of like somebody coming into your building with those active other drills we do, right? It's kind of
Mhm,
like that. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, and you get a little bit of information, but you got to kind of respond in the way you respond. So it is a divisive kind of thing, and it does harm the most vulnerable students in our community, and makes them, even sometimes schools doesn't feel like a safe space for them anyway. So now it
right,
definitely doesn't feel like that. And why would I even go there if I don't feel like safe, or I don't feel my family would be safe if I went, right?
mhm,
So it is a complex time, but I think, the biggest thing is not to avoid the conversation. That's hard, but that's hard. It's like, how much do you talk about it? But I think is, as a community, how do we kind of navigate? How do we want to best navigate this to make sure we keep kids safe?
yeah,
Is
and
is and there's no perfect way. There's no
there
perfect
isn't.
way.
And if it's not happening, it's one of those things where if it's not happening next to you, if it didn't happen, if you're just watching from a distance, it's easy to ignore it. It's, "Oh, it's happening somewhere else. It's over there. It's happening on that end of the world." But if you see people actually get picked up that or in your neighborhood, you see these signs saying people gotten picked up, or it hits a little different. It's recently, last couple months, it's hit a little different. Prior to
Hmm.
that, it wasn't really hitting that hard. I was like, "Oh, okay, wow, that's crazy. That's so sad. Why is that happening?" But when it's like happening here,
Right.
you're like,
Yeah.
oh no, this is terrible. Um, so it's just, and then it seems like I mentioned this. I don't know if we just talked about earlier. We talked about this earlier, but like everything on social media now, for me, it's hard to make social media posts. It's hard to talk about things that I used to talk about, because it doesn't, to me, it seems like it doesn't matter as much,
Mm.
It doesn't matter as much as people's safety. It doesn't matter as much as, it just I don't know, like I'll turn on the camera, I'll try to do something, and then after I'll do that, I'll make the video, and then I'm like, "This is stupid. Why am I gonna do this?
He's like, "This is stupid."
This is stupid. Why am I
I
gonna
say that
do this?"
every day too. So anyway,
Yeah.
no, no matter. And I'm talking about resumes and getting a job, right? Like, so
But like, even let's take resumes and getting a job. Let's take your post of resumes and getting a job. Like again, I get it too. If you make posts about resumes or getting a job, or you make posts about classroom management, if you make posts about anything, dancing or whatever, like, like wow, when you could enjoy all of those things when safety is taken care of.
right.
You could enjoy like all these other videos when you feel safe, when you feel comfortable, when your safety and your freedom is being jeopardized, none of that stuff matters anymore. It's like none of that other stuff that I enjoyed, watching or I cared about a little bit. It's like your health. That idea that if you think you have 1,000 problems until you have a health problem, then you have one problem.
Mhm.
I feel like it's the same thing
Yeah.
with this. Like you think you have all these problems, but when somebody says, your freedom's taken away, you can't go here, you can't do these things, your safety's compromised. Now nothing else matters. It's like, man, you mean I can't go down the street without being worried, that it's and I'm sure for the people that are in Minneapolis and like all these places where ICE is just heavy presence, it's just different for them. But I think that when you feel like your freedom's taken away, like, and we're supposed to be America. I remember as a little boy, I was thinking about this. I was gonna make a post
Mhm.
about this, but as a little boy, I remember we would line up outside on the yard and we'd say the flag salute, and then we'd sing like some sort of patriotic song. Like
Mhm.
one song, you know, America the Beautiful, Yankee Doodle, I don't know, some sort of a, song for America. We would do it and we sing it and they'd have us sing it. And I always, I think about that. I'm like, man, okay. And we're supposed to be like the land of the free and the home of the brave, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And it doesn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like we're the land of the free. And it does not feel like we're the home of the brave either. And the America that was, that I remember when I was a kid growing up, it's not the America that's happening now. This is, in my mind, different from what I remember.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you can't, you just got, it's just different, and everything's
But
political.
the yeah, and I think the challenge with this, and uh, I'm gonna kinda go sideways, but I think your message, I think when you say your message doesn't matter, and this is my opinion of it, my perspective of it, it's not true because it's an escape from all that other noise of
Yeah,
trying to get people focused on, how can I create an environment in whatever space that I am? That's what you do for me, honestly. You remind me that it's important to create that space, wherever space I am, that everybody feels safe enough to be themselves
yeah,
and
yeah,
feel safe enough that they can contribute. That's what I think the power is in your message. And that's the power in things that other like presidential people that have been in the past. Like, how can we create environments all over this space where everybody feels like they are included, safe, and they can thrive in whatever way that is, right? And I think that message is so important and more important now than ever because
mhm,
it's not just about yes, we worried about safety, and there's been history of that in America of different cultures and different people being worried about safety and
absolutely.
and having these fear tactics brought upon them so that they don't move into these different spaces, right? They don't move into these spaces that you know to give them opportunity. And so I say all that to say that that's the importance of your message and important to me of your post is that you're about inclusion, creating these spaces where kids, adults, families feel like, yeah, they understand me, they get me, and I feel like, this is a good place for me and I feel good here.
Yeah,
And I think that's important. And I'm trying to, and even in my posts with resumes and interviews and all that stuff, it's really about including people in that process as well. To me, that's the way I
yeah,
think about it. How can I include other people so you're not confused or, get false information that doesn't allow you to move into a space that you feel like you want to get to? Opportunity. And, and, that's what I think is important And that's why I say to you, just keep going in what you're doing because it is important to people to be reminded that that is what they can create in whatever space they're in.
Yeah. I started this other YouTube channel, and all it is just recording my life. So it's just like vlogging basically, but just whatever we if I went to dinner with my wife or whatever, we had a family party or whatever it is, I'm gonna record this thing, I'm gonna put it up because I feel like these memories are priceless,
Mm.
and we need to keep these memories alive in our families. Like, mm, we go back and look and remember Christmas when we were all together and, everybody was here and we had a great time and we played games and we ate this food and let's watch this video. So I just been documenting, just those things. I've been really enjoying just documenting whatever is going on, whatever's happening. And that's been very, I don't know, it's relaxing, it
Mhm.
brings me joy,
Yes.
and I wanna leave some sort of, like, legacy because, I just had my son just had, his first child, so I'm a grandfather now, and so that's another thing. It was like,
Nice.
"Man,
Congratulations.
hey, I appreciate that." I was like, it would be great to just have a series of videos that my grandchildren could look back and be like, "Oh, these are great videos." And maybe I'll be their favorite, YouTuber. They'll be like, "Oh, I wanna watch grandpa, let me watch grandpa," and him eating pizza at whatever. So I started making this and, just because life is precious and it'd be cool to leave some sort of memory of what happens and,
Yeah,
I've been starting to do that,
that's awesome.
yeah, because of what's been I don't know, it's just what's
No,
been on my mind.
no, I think that's true, and, I say yes because I agree. Well, I think my thinking is similar to yours in terms of, like I said at the very beginning, like, I switched what I was doing because I was traveling, I was going to different events, I wasn't home. Even when I was home, I was doing it's kinda like when I was a principal, even when I was home, I'm not home because I am thinking about the responsibilities of,
Mhm.
taking care of other people. And, for me, I need to make sure that I didn't feel like I could do what I was doing to the level I wanted to. And I didn't think it was fair to other people. So for me, it's best for me to be in a space where I can still support people and, create a cool space for people, but also be here and make memories with my wife, right?
Mhm,
Time is very precious. We don't know how much time we have. This
mhm,
obviously, the stuff that's going on in the world makes you think about, that too, for me anyway. And so
mhm,
I agree with you. Whatever way you do to make moments that's going to be precious and memories that you can laugh at is cool. So I applaud you for doing that. I actually admire you for doing that. I think that's amazing. And you know, I I might even consider doing that for
you
myself as well
should,
because it is
you
good.
should.
Yeah.
Get yourself a little camera, go to dinner with your wife, and just pull that video out, pull that camera out, and just eat and talk.
Yeah.
Just eat and talk, and, and then just that's it is, save that little video, and I don't know, that's what I've been doing lately. But
That's cool.
you had said, going back into the classroom and then the time it takes to be an administrator or to do all those things, you're always busy, you're always thinking about work, and it's hard for you to be present sometimes at home because of all the things that are on your mind. My question to you is it worth it? Like, is it worth it to go into a space like an administrator, like a principal? Like, is it worth it to do that knowing the sacrifices that you're gonna have to make with your own family?
Yeah. That is the $1,000,000 question for me in terms of anybody I'm working with around it, and even when I started the journey. And so, I started my journey because my wife's encouragement. She was like, "Yeah, I think you should, go for it, do it. I'm here to support you. I'm here with you. I'll take care of these things." And I could go and kind of put my 100% into it and be in those spaces. And I think there's trade-offs whenever you choose to do that. It's just there's just trade-offs in life that you're gonna miss some things um, that happen at home, and you might not be as present while you're at home because you have a situation going on at work that you need to take care of, or you might be dealing with it, on your phone or emailing or
Mhm.
whatever while you're at home. And you can't, sometimes when you're in certain roles, you can't just be like, no, I'm not going to answer that
Yeah.
because it is your responsibility, especially when you're a principal. I mean, you're responsible for anything that happens, even if it's
Right.
during school, outside of school, in the
Mhm.
neighborhood, it's going
Mhm.
to come into your building. And so,
Yeah.
or something might happen at the building. Like I remember we had graffiti at the building and, pipes break a bust because it was too cold and no heat in the building. And,
Mhm.
that happened at night when I was at home, but not when I was in the building, right? And I had to deal with the next day when you get there, but you have to prepare. How am I going to answer these questions? How am I going to talk to families? How am I going to communicate? You know, and so yes, there's trade offs in life that you are going to miss some things if you choose those paths. But as long as you are in a space where if you have a partner or family, they're understanding and willing to work with you through that. You take the moments that you have that you do get at home and be as present as you can while you're there and enjoy them. And you know, you're working for a higher goal for yourself and your family. I think it's worth it. And for me, I've been very blessed. I didn't even know these roles were possible when I became a teacher. I never did. I never even thought about them. I
Mhm.
didn't know that you could be a content supervisor. I didn't know these jobs existed.
Yeah.
And they've all taught me something about how to be a better human for my, not just work, but for my family.
Yeah.
And that's the blessing that I take away from it, is that, yeah, there was some sacrifice there, but I think I've become a better person. I hope my wife would say that, my family would say that, that I've become a better person because I've had to make adjustments to me to be better in those spaces for other people. So,
So you're back in the classroom right now. Do you view it differently now that you're went back? Is it do you have a different perspective on being a teacher, or
in what
so you
sense?
were you were out of the classroom, you were administrator, you did all these out of the classroom kind of roles, and
Hmm.
then you went back in the classroom, and now you're in there. Is it
Day to day.
different? Are things
Are the
different?
kids
Is it
different, or is that
the
what you
kids
mean?
different? All of it. Are the kids different? Number one, are the kids different? Are the expectations as a classroom teacher different from the expectations when you first started teaching? Are things harder now? All of that.
Um,
It's the
so
same.
that well, no, I think I know that I'm a better teacher than I was when I first got started, right? I know
Yeah,
that I'm better because I've seen other people that have been successful as teacher, taken nuances from there, listen to people like you, and just learn about and going in classrooms and observed other people teaching and say,
yeah,
I would do that differently. I would handle this situation like this. And sometimes you can't just tell people that because they take offense to it, but you
yeah.
can kind of internalize them and say, this was the result of that action, right? This was the result of this. And so for me, there's more dynamics to teaching for sure, like the cell phones and, the distractions that are present for kids, the things that are going on in life. There's way more that kids and families have to deal with and try to navigate than they were in the past. Um, and all that comes into the building. And so is it difficult? I think it's easier for me because I have a clear picture of what kind of environment I want to create
Mm,
and I have a clear way of how I want to do that. Doesn't mean it's perfect,
yeah,
but I'm very clear on how I respond to everything that might happen in the class.
that's
And I
good.
prepare to say, mentally, I prepare and say, the kid might not listen to me today. How am I going to respond to that? A
Yeah.
parent might get I had a call today with a parent, right? And I'm working with a new group, and sometimes when you're working with a new group, the people that had those children before will say, "Well, this kid was that, and this kid is
Yeah.
that, and this kid is that, and I don't know how you're going to get them to do this, right?" And so I called one of the kids' parents today just to say, "I'm new. I'm teaching them. I want to learn from you how your child responds to this or that, or challenges, or how did it, what's their what are they good at beyond school, right? What do they enjoy in life
Yeah.
beyond school? What negative experience?" And the parent was getting a little bit upset with me because I was asking questions, and I could tell because it's a cultural thing. Right? But
Mhm.
I know other people would get upset. Teachers might get upset by how the parent was responding. They were like, "I don't know. I don't, they're just independent and they do what they want to do." And they were saying stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
knew kind of where that came from because it was a cultural thing of in African American culture, one of the big things is privacy. Like they don't want people in their business. They don't want everybody to know most of the time what's going on. And so and I said that to the parent. I said, "So you're basically saying that she's a private person, right? I understand that." And so, but some people would get offended by that, but I was expecting that from the call.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm better with how I respond, which makes me better with being a teacher because some things I didn't know how to respond to. And I think I can respond to most things in a way that keeps it positive and keeps the parent kid in the classroom safe. But I'm not perfect. I do have issue. I tell the kids, I say, I'm going to make some mistakes too. But,
Yeah.
I think I'm better at that for sure, which makes it a better environment, which is what I want to create. Just a good environment.
Yeah, that's important. I remember when you say that, it reminds me of like, when you the I remember I think back at my first classroom that I taught, and I'm like, "Damn, I didn't do too well." Like, I hope they're okay. I
Yeah.
hope they're okay. I'm thinking I'll read
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
taught 1st grade. I taught 1st grade, so I'm teaching them, like, the basics right here. And, when I think about that, I'm like, "Man, my first two classrooms, I don't know. I hope they're good,"
Mhm. Yep.
and then you get better and you become a better person and you learn you have a bigger heart and you know how to love and you know how to love yourself and you're empathetic to
Mhm.
other and you understand other people's needs and you're not selfish and you just keep becoming a better person.
Yeah.
And by becoming a better person, you connect better with people. You could create those environments, create those spaces where you could listen to a parent who's upset and not take it personal and
Right.
be like, "Okay, all right, that's why don't worry about it. I got your son or daughter anyway, so we're good
That's
anyway,
right.
we're good." You
That's
know?
right.
And so I think that that's important. I think that that's something that teachers need to understand and people that work with kids in general or people maybe in general is that when you become better, you do better. That idea that when you become better, you do better. You think about your first kids,
Mhm.
my
Oh, yeah.
first kid, yeah, you think about your first,
Terrible.
you're like, "Man, I was a child myself raising a child." You're a child raising a child, right? It's your first
Mhm.
one, and you're making all these mistakes and then, what they say that, your first child is like the 3rd parent, like, they're the one that if you hadn't they're raising the next one too,
Yes,
and,
yes.
so,
Yeah.
and the next one you do better because you're a better dad. You're a
That's right.
better dad, and so you do a little bit better,
Yeah,
so
because you know what to expect, right? You
yeah,
know kind of the things. Now, things or nuances are gonna happen that are different, but you have an idea of what to expect. The first child, you're like, "I have no idea what's gonna happen. I'm
yeah.
afraid that something might happen to this child. I just wanna make sure that they wake
Mhm.
up the next day and are okay," right? And so
That's it.
but I think that goes into teaching and really teaching to me is more coaching now. It's not like I'm their parent.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of relationship I want to have is that It's really about how can I learn where you are and move you forward. And that's why I think your message is so important around teaching. It's a constant learning process of people. And to
Yeah.
manage a classroom effectively, you're going to have moments where there is a lot of conflict. They're doing something that you don't like, or you're doing something that they don't like, and there's an outburst, right? How do you take that moment, learn, and move forward for the next day so you can make the next day positive too, and not hold a grudge that they they did this thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's the hard part about managing people in a classroom, which I learned a lot from the other roles, which I
Yeah.
really did.
I remember when I was probably like 29 years old. I was working at middle school, and I tell this story before, but I'm 29 years old, 30 years old or so, and I'm working in middle school, and this one kid he's just having a bad day, and then he says something like, he goes, "I'll whoop everybody's ass in this classroom. Everybody's ass. I'll whoop everybody's ass." And they're like, "Ooh," everybody's like, "Ooh." And they look at me and they're like,
Mhm,
"Hey, Mister's in the class too. Mister's in the class too." And so I look at the kid and I was like, "You said you're gonna whoop everybody's ass?" He's like, and he looks at me dead in my eyes, dead in my eyes. Everybody. I said
mhm,
everybody. And so the class gets quiet and I'm sitting on I sit on the table, like on the table, and I'm just quiet. I'm just quiet right there. And the whole class is quiet. And he's quiet, and I'm quiet, and everybody's like looking to see what's gonna happen. And it was just an ugly situation. I didn't say nothing, or whatever. It took me like 15 minutes to calm down. There was this
mhm,
15 minutes of nobody saying anything. The
mhm,
kids were dead silent. And then after like I was able to gather myself, I went and got my marker, I started doing math, put a problem on the board. All right, guys, take out your notebooks, whatever. 29 years old, me. If that happened today and somebody said, I'll whoop everybody's ass, it wouldn't even phase me. Like
yeah,
today, it wouldn't even phase me today.
right.
Like it would have been like, all right, man, that's cool. Cool. Everybody, you got everybody in this classroom. All right, now let's open up your book.
That's
we
right.
got math to do. We got
Thanks for
math to do,
thanks for
damn it.
sharing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Uh,
Thanks for sharing your perspective of the
yeah,
room.
yeah, because I was immature. I was immature at that time, 29 years old, and then somebody says that, I'm like, "Oh, how dare he?" So, all
Right,
offended.
right.
Now, like you said, thanks for sharing. Like, yeah, okay, so what? All right, moving forward. Let's go. Listen, we got math to do, So you mature and you get better. If you can
Yeah.
stick it out, you get better and you mature and you become a better person, and you're able to reach more people, connect with more
Mhm.
people, help
Correct.
the most challenging behaviors because you've been through it all. You've seen it
Yeah.
all and it doesn't offend you. And you
And and
know,
I and that's why I love what you say, because 'cause we've all had those moments. I've had plenty of those moments over and over
mhm,
and over
mhm,
again where, somebody gets offended or whatever. I caught this person that not even too long ago, a few weeks ago. This person was cheating on a test, right? And so I bring the person out of the room and I'm like, what's going on with this? And the person was like, bro, I'm
mhm.
not doing bro. And I was like, wait, my name is not bro. My name is Mr. Singletary. And so let's just talk about the issue. If we're not gonna have a
Yeah,
conversation, then we're gonna find another solution. But
yeah.
but those moments continue, they happen, and you can either get better or you can get bitter, right? I
Mhm.
think those are your only choices to say, what part of this can I change in my response next time? That's the only thing you can control because it's going to happen again.
It's gonna happen again. Yep.
Yeah. And you just got to say, okay, next time this happened, this is how I'm going to respond to it instead of, I didn't like the way I responded. That's it. Or you get mad and go and talk to your neighbor and tell your wife and tell whoever, your husband, whoever, tell everybody. And then
Yeah.
tomorrow come in and nothing changed because it happens again and you respond the same way.
Yep.
And so
I was reading.
I
Go
think
ahead.
that's important. That's all.
Yeah. I was reading this book and it was talking about how going to college, one of the most important things about going to college is that you learn to not think on a default setting. If anything, you learn to not think on a default setting. So default setting is you're in line the line's too long, you're super frustrated and you get angry, or you're stuck in traffic and somebody cuts you off and you get all mad and you're like, what? And you're just frustrated. And that's the default setting, not really
Mhm.
looking to see like, well, maybe the person that cut me off has an emergency and they have to go, or maybe, but for whatever reason, there's all kinds of reasons why these things are happening. And our default setting is to get angry and frustrated, right? So I was thinking about that and I was like, man, that's the same thing as like teaching.
Mhm.
Like the default setting in education is to be upset and angry when kids can't read or whatever, right? And then think about like, well, it's the parents' fault or it's last year's teacher's fault
Mm.
or it's this reason, and you go to this default setting, and most people are on the default setting. I feel that
Mhm.
get super frustrated, and I was like, man, that's yeah, that's what it is, and we all get on the default setting, and it's trying to catch ourselves and being like, "Wait a minute, there's other reasons for these behaviors. There's other reasons why this happened."
Right.
It's and you're just trying to find out what those other reasons are, just being understanding, you know?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
just
I
yeah.
love what you got to say there, and I think I've been thinking about that a lot, especially being back in the classroom is, I think you you that default setting, as you said, can happen at any time. Like, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't think people are like you should be included. You shouldn't be included in every single thing, but there are things that there are. You shouldn't be here. You should be here, right? Like
Mhm.
curriculum content. A kid should know this by the time they get to me, but that's not the case. They're not going to know it. So if they don't know it, how am I going to respond to
Yes.
that? How am
Yes.
I going to keep safety as the primary thing if I really believe that, or whatever I believe that all kids can, whatever I think I thought I should believe or I believe, how do I keep that in the forefront in that moment when a kid comes to me and they don't know something they may have should have learned in third grade, second grade, first grade,
Yeah.
or their behavior? They should be in the room. They are in the room. How can I keep
Mhm.
them safe mentally
Mhm.
and physically, even when they have an outburst, even when they're
Yeah.
having a bad moment? Because that doesn't mean they're a bad human. It just means they're having a moment. We all have moments.
Yeah.
And so, we have these things that we either say they should or shouldn't, but how can I be in a better space where I can include everybody, no matter what is happening with them as a human? So
That's the key. That's the key. How do you include everybody?
that's a
Y
question for my ask myself every day. How can I keep including? How can I do this today?
No, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. That is a real question too. But if yeah, it's education's tricky, man. Working with kids and working in a school community and working with different administrators and teachers and different staff, and you got the whole mix, you got the whole bag there, and
Mhm.
you have to work with everybody. You have to work with,
Everybody.
and some of the best administrators know how to figure that out.
Yep.
They know how to figure that out. And it's an art. It's a skill. It's something that just bringing people together. It's a skill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's something I had to develop for sure, and I'm still working on it, but
me
yeah,
too.
you have to develop. It's a developed skill through the pains of the failures that happen all the
That's
time.
right. All the mistakes you
All the
made.
mistakes, the pain, you change. But
That's right.
but no, I think going back to your point about at the very beginning, I know we've been on for a little while, but I appreciate the conversation. I'm always up for this kind of conversation, no matter what the topic is. Because I just enjoy talking to people that want to kind of think about these things and really, kind of ponder how can we keep kids safe with the situation that's going on in the communities. And, I think that continuously asking that question whenever challenges come up and having conversations around how do we want to do it as our community, I think is vital to to all situations, whether it's in the classroom, as an administrator, trying to work with a school and keep everybody safe in this environment. How can we do it? Is a question that you got to continue to ask because there's going to be things that come up that you have no answers to,
That's right.
and you're
Right.
just gonna have to figure it out as you go. How do we want to handle this? So
Yeah. Well, Ray, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And the conversations are always rich and rewarding. So thank you.
No, thank you. Keep doing this. I appreciate you doing
Yeah.
it. Keep posting. If you stop posting, I'm gonna hunt you down.